But potentially this weekend,
yes,
paths will cross.
I'm in the Sidemen charity match this weekend, which it'll be over by the time this has happened. So hopefully I don't embarrass myself, and hopefully,
well, after this weekend, you might not be alive. You know, MrBeast might take your life.
That's true.
On the field,
I did like there was memes immediately after the announcement being like Sean and Jimmy when they see each other, and it's that like video of like the two black dudes looking at each other like woo 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 woo. And I was like, man, we should recreate that. But that was the thing, I didn't know he was playing in it, and I just DM'd him then and was like, oh cool, you're gonna be there, and he was like, yeah, it was really fun last year, like you're gonna be there as well. Like people think, oh man, they must hate each other now, they must have so much beef, and so many people made videos on it, and I was like, when he wrote we messaged and we're all Gucci now, whatever, I just wrote the little cowboy with a thumbs up because I'm like, I never know what to answer, and I like the little cowboy, but my first reply was Dexerto in shambles, and I was like, I don't want to fucking put anything else out there. I feel like sometimes really the way I joke gets lost, because some people I have heard from people that like, you're kind of hard to read sometimes. I'm like, I didn't think so, but I guess a lot of stuff I do is very sarcastic, and I feel like people take it a bit too seriously sometimes.
Yeah, it's not that deep. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, and it ended in less than 12 hours, and people were like, oh man, I wanted more.
How did you feel waking up that morning? Well, did you wake up in the morning and and MrBeast had already tweeted?
Yeah. Because I don't even
just like, oh no.
I like genuinely don't even like check Twitter that often anymore. Like sometimes I'll go whole days without checking it, which I'm very proud of because I used to be on it all the fucking time. And I woke up and some people had messaged me about it, and I was like, huh? And I was like, you watched the Tommy video? And then I went online and like checked Twitter on my laptop, and I was like, oh God, what happened? I was like,
no.
What's more fucked up is that the person that made the tweet was hiding replies. They hid like some of the replies that MrBeast had about saying like, oh, we're all good now. Because I think they just wanted it to go more viral and get more clicks and like have it kind of like tumble around in the atmosphere a bit more.
That sucks.
Thankfully, most people, as soon as they saw that, they were like, good, you guys cleared it up like adults. And I feel like anybody who's still arguing about it just want to argue about it for no reason. Yeah, it was all very silly. So many people being like, he's just jealous of MrBeast content, and like he wishes he could do that. I'm like, I don't have the energy to do what MrBeast does. I don't know how you would record videos like that consistently.
No.
And
no, I mean,
I will point out that a lot of people were like, oh, because Ethan Klein had a big, massive reply to it and talked about like power posting 2 Let's Plays every day and trying to make as much money as possible, which I don't think back in the day everyone was posting 2 Let's Plays to make money. I think it was just a really nice benefit of making easier videos, because the idea of doing 2 Let's Plays was just, that's what PewDiePie did, so I'm doing it.
Yeah, doing the 2 uploads a day was just like what you did back then for some reason. And I really don't think it was about money. I think it was about that's just what the standard was for some reason. Yeah. And also, like, at that time, when everyone was doing 2 a day, I don't think that it was a money thing. I think it was like almost like an addiction thing. Yeah, it was like, I have to get these up.
It was definitely like, don't get me wrong, there is a money aspect to it in the fact that if it didn't make any money or didn't make as much money as it did, would I have consistently done it for like 5.5 years the way I did? Probably not. It is a really nice byproduct of doing it that it did make as much money as it did, but I don't think that was ever the driving factor for me. And it's a bit weird to say, because sometimes it's like, oh, this will get views, which I guess is equated to money, but for me it was just like trying to get numbers to go up and be like, wow, it's so cool that I can like do this every day, twice a day. And like you said, it was just pure addiction. It's like I wake up, that's all I do all day. I'm so productive.
When you see shit working, you want to keep doing that because it's working. I saw that Ethan Klein reply, and I get where he's coming from, but I don't think that it was a fair assumption to be like, this is about money. It's like, no, it's not, though.
And I do think that I do think in hindsight, it does look like it was about money because people did start making gaming channels to try
more like in Kleinsight, am I right? Thanks, guys.
Nice.
I'll be here forever.
I think a lot of people did start making gaming channels that were like vloggers because they were like, oh, that's quick, easy money, instead of having to like make a vlog every day. So I think that ended up making everybody... It's like when I started off and I was doing like shouty, yelly, sweary type of content, and then other people were like, that's how he got popular. And then they start doing it and emulating it. It just makes people who started doing it look the same. It starts making us look like we all did it for the same reasons. But, I mean, again, you can't really blame people for thinking that either, because from the outside in, without knowing any of the people involved, like, we know so many gamers from that era who would all agree that they probably weren't doing it for money at all, but it was a nice, happy benefit of the fact that you're pouring so much of your time into that, and it is making as much money as it is. It's like, why wouldn't I keep doing it? But yeah, I think, and I'm also inclined to say that I also don't think gaming content is that hard to make. I saw some people say that I thought gaming content was better or that, but when we started doing gaming content back then, it was the same thing. A lot of the people who weren't gamers were like, they're ruining the platform. The content is going down the drain. It's becoming more about this and that and the other instead of creativity. So I feel like it is a very old school mentality that sometimes I have in me, that you often remember like the times before, like when you started, when it was the most fun to do it and it wasn't so much a job anymore. And now it's like you kind of see the inner workings of it. It is more about being a job than it is just your whole life.
Yeah, I think I can speak for both of us in saying that I don't think anyone is arguing that Let's Plays are harder to make than the videos that MrBeast makes.
No.
Again, with the amount that he posts and the production value and everything that goes into it, it is way easier to make gaming videos or reaction videos than the stuff that he's doing.
Yeah, and I mean, he's made gaming content. He's made reaction content. He makes the regular content that he does. He himself can attest to which one's easier. But yeah, he also said something about the artistry involved in it. Like, I thought I was making art versus MrBeast, which, again, a lot of the replies are a lot of putting words in mouths. Like, MrBeast reply also talked about sports cars and money and stuff, and I'm like, I guess I did mention money a little bit, but I was just talking about the general atmosphere of YouTube, that there's more... It just feels more corporate on YouTube now than it does feel like homegrown YouTubers. But you can still find those everywhere. Like, I think the most important thing to take away from all of it is that I don't think there's one way of doing content, and everybody is welcome and can do whatever they want. And the stuff being said in that video is just to heighten Tommy's video rather than it being taken as literally as it is. It is interesting that a lot of people want to open up that conversation, though, because I didn't realize so many people actually wanted to talk about that kind of stuff, and now we're using that clip as like the scapegoat to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I have not met MrBeast in person, so I don't know what he's like as a real person. Yeah. I'm not really a fan of his videos. They're not for me. It's a bit much. And there's a part of me that, like, I don't blame him for doing the videos that he does.
Yeah.
But I think that when I started making YouTube, when I started making videos, the draw to me was like, I saw other people doing it and I was like, oh, I can do that. Like, it was making videos was very attainable. And I think that the thing that I don't like about MrBeast kind of content is inherently there is so much money involved, where, like, his video the other day of, like, shredding a Lamborghini, where it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so in my mind, it's like, I don't love that. And this is not saying that he shouldn't necessarily make these videos or that they're bad for the platform necessarily, but it's like, okay, people can't look at that and be like, oh, I want to do that. It's just a very unattainable thing, which isn't necessarily bad, but I think it does make YouTube more of a corporate place and more of like a high budget thing, when in the beginning it was all homegrown stuff where it was everybody just making stuff in their bedroom and anybody could do it.
Yeah, and I mean, Ethan's reply also talked about like the erasure of human history, say, or YouTube history, talking about how everything was like hunky-dory back then and now suddenly it's not. But honestly, I do think there were a lot of aspects about it that, I mean, even just from a regular uploading perspective from our end, that was the Wild West time of YouTube. So even just in that regard, things were just a bit more free-flowing and like do whatever you want. Nowadays, it feels like certain stuff absolutely works and some stuff doesn't. And people are like figuring it out a little bit more, whereas back then no one really had it figured out. Even the gaming content, like some people tried it and then it didn't work, and then we're like, okay, no one really knows what's going on. And now MrBeast is the first person to do it, where he talks about the algorithm in such detail that now it feels more attainable to figure out the system more than anything. Whereas back then, like, you could upload a video with copyrighted music in it and you didn't have to worry about anything. You could swear as much as you want. You didn't have to worry about kids' content. And I'm not saying that that's better. It's much better that COPPA got involved and now kids' content is safer on YouTube and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, back then, people were just throwing so much shit at the wall that none of it really stuck for too long because stuff was just changing all the time.
Yeah, back then it was you post the right video at the right time and you start to gain traction. And now I feel like this is not completely true, obviously, but now sometimes it feels like YouTube has become a place where it's more pay to win, where there is kind of a formula now. Because back then it was just like, oh, there's no recipe to success. Now there kind of is, in a sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Not saying that anybody can do it, and there's still luck involved and stuff.
It doesn't always work, but it doesn't. It definitely does seem like there's more surefire methods to get. I mean, even MrBeast himself said that he could create a channel and use the same tactics, and it would like grow really quickly. And I don't know if he actually did do that or not, or if that's true or not. But that, even just saying that kind of stuff is like a new generation way of thinking about YouTube. But there's always been people trying to like game the system for views and money and stuff. I just meant that I think it's far more prevalent now because there are so many more people doing it in a similar fashion than they used to. And the idea of like giving away this in the video if this doesn't happen, and like giving away a car, giving away money, giving away $100,000, all that kind of stuff, I feel like is much more new than it isn't. And I mean, I'm not immune to this either. I've done streams where I give away money to, or videos where I give away money to streamers. I did one not that long ago, like 3 months ago, where I gave money to my editor because of stuff. And that's because it's one of those things that I've tried to do those things a lot, where it's like, okay, idea first, then title and thumbnail. And for me, it just ended up being, I don't enjoy making videos that way, so I'm just not going to do it. So I just kind of went back to doing it the way I want to do it, which isn't always the most successful way of doing it. Yeah, it is an interesting conversation to have with like what YouTube was in the beginning versus what it is now, and it's definitely very much changed. But if anything, the fault lies on YouTube themselves, because they're the ones pushing certain types of content and the algorithm is theirs that they made. So if it's chasing a thing, that means that people want to watch it, and it's just going to keep pushing that stuff all the time.